Hello, welcome everybody to another new episode of Theories of International Relations. Before now, we have been able to deal with what international relation is. We have been able to differentiate between international relations and international politics. We have been able to also underscore the six essential core areas of international relations, talking about international politics, diplomacy, international organizations, foreign policy, strategic studies, and international economic relations. Now we are beginning with the historical approach. Historical approach is part of the traditional approach. So it is a traditional approach to the study of international relations that deals with chronological account of events. What we are saying is that in international relations, we deal with histories of past events. At the early stage of the development of international relations, we deal with the diplomatic history of past events, diplomatic history of countries, diplomatic history of nations, diplomatic history of empires. Because it was so important to understand international relations from the perspective of the successes and failures of past statesmen. It was important to understand the relationship between the kings and the statesmen and how the kingdoms were being ruled. It was important to understand the reason why and how wars were being fought and won in different empires, nations, and kingdoms. It was also important to know the causes of war and how peace was being reached, and also if the peace was actually a positive peace or a negative peace, if it was a piece of the graveyard or if it was a perfect peace. It was also important for us to understand the history behind the successes of the international system and the failures of the international system, how international system have been able to evolve around to get to the present stage, right from the epoch of the primitive stage according to the Marxists, from the primitive stage to the stage of capitalism, how the international system have been able to survive different wars and how they have been able to make peace and how the peace have been able to be sustained. As a good international relations scholars, for us to make use of this historical approach, that means that in our research work, possibly in our project work, we may need to use a particular case study in order to have a generalization. This is because scholars who study historical approach made use of case studies to describe historical events. The next one is descriptive approach. The descriptive approach belongs to the group of the behavioral approach. Social scientists believe that for a study to be made scientific, it has to be descriptive. By descriptive, we mean that for a scholar to be able to do any research, any scientific research work, he must be able to describe facts accurately and establish the relationship between those facts, though it is similar to that of the historical approach. The difference is that descriptive studies pay more attention to details rather than just chronological explanations of events. Paying more attention also have to do with comparison, just as we have it in comparative politics. If you can remember your comparative politics very well, you will remember that Aristotle did a descriptive studies when he compared the constitutions of about 158 cities of the Greek nations. For instance now, a scholar can decide to do a particular descriptive study on League of Nations and United Nations, taking maybe an organ of United Nations and League of Nations. It could be the General Assembly. You compare the both of them together and try to describe what happens in the procedures of League of Nations General Assembly and also describe what happens in the procedure of the United Nations General Assembly. The next approach is called the scientific approach. It is a direct application of all the tools of science into the study of international relations. This is so important because there was a need for a proper description and explanation and prediction of events in the international system. Before the development of this scientific approach, the study of international relations from the 1920s to 1940s was studied through the traditional approach. From the 1950s to the 1970s marks the rise of the behavioralists, who sought to adopt a systematic procedure for collection of data and analysis. The behavioralists did not agree with the traditionalists on the ground that it does not provide adequate theoretical interpretation of international relations. The behavioralists also did not agree with the traditionalists because the study of international relations through the traditional approach was unable to predict and prevent the First World War and Second World War. They also did not agree with the traditionalists because they believe that there should be a focus on man, not the institutions that are being studied, not the constitutions that are being studied, not the nations that are being studied, but the focus of analysis should be on man because man is the one in charge of making decisions. Thus, there was a movement from the study of international relations through the traditional approach to the behavioralist approach, which is more scientific, and this movement is called the paradigm shifts. Scholars like Charles E. Merriam, Robert Dahl, David Easton, and other members of the Chicago University came together and formulated an association which was called the Chicago School. The work of David Easton cannot be exempted from the rise of behavioralism when he spoke about 8 intellectual foundation stones of behavioralism. There are other approaches like the normative approach, the legal approach, realist approach, idealist approach, and the rest of them, but we may not be able to go into them for now. At some point during our course of lectures, we'll make reference to those ones and we'll explain them. And if time does not permit us, we have them in our handout, so when we get the handouts, we'll be able to study them perfectly well. This will be your assignment. Kindly write a short note on 6 essential core areas of international relations. My email will be displayed on the screen. Kindly submit your assignment to my email on the 6th of April 2020. Alright, this will be a very good place to draw up the curtain. In our next class, we'll be able to deal with the theories of international relations. Thank you so much, then God bless. Remember, stay safe and stay at home. Coronavirus is real. That shit is a respecter of no man.